Jim just asked me to tell a story, so this is on the fly, but I think I can make it a journey story. My friend insists I should write a book called How Not to Parent, and she cites this particular journey as an example. I love taking my kids to the shore where I throw my 3 kids in the car and drive down the shore for the day, and then we run around the beach, we get to dinner, we drive back late at night. One day, it's great. My wife loves it because she stays home. I normally, because our car would fit 5 people, we'd throw one of the kids would bring one friend with them. And this particular time, we brought Phil Vecchioli with us. Phil's a great kid. He was about 8. My daughter was 12. My son Brian was 8. My son Jack was 7. And Phil came. Phil's parents, he's an only child. They're very protective. They said, oh, we can trust the Carmodys. We'll let you take Phil. My kids like being scared. They really have no fear factor. I'm not quite the same. I watched the movie a few years ago with my daughter, who was 18 at the time. I watched it, and at the end of it, I go, that is so sad. That's horrible. What a horrible ending. And she's like, Dad, the movie's called Drag Me to Hell. What did you think was going to happen at the end? And I'm just kind of thick sometimes. So when I drive to the shore sometimes, especially on the way back, I'm tired and I'll put a book on tape in. So I'll grab different books on tape, and I have some in the car. I buy them cheap at a used bookstore to have. So on the way down, we're driving down, and I grab a book on tape I throw it in the car, and the book starts. It's kind of slow. And this is right before we get to shore. It's kind of slow, where it's these family moves to a new area. There's a guy who becomes like a surrogate father to the father. They have a cat named Church. The cat dies, and they take it to the cemetery. Do you know where I'm going with this? The name of the book was Pet Sematary by Stephen King. We got to the beach. So when we get to the beach, it's not that bad. We go to the beach, play on the beach all day long. The 3 kids and I were running around, 4 kids with Phil. We go to dinner. We're driving back late at night. Now it's late at night. We're driving down. It's dark. And we're driving back. And the kids go, Dad, put the tape on. Put the tape on. I put the tape on. And I'm tired. I'm not really paying close attention. As it goes along, I start drifting back in. I'm listening to it. And it's this horrible story where not only did the cat dies, then the guy's son dies, he puts it in a pet cemetery, he comes back to life, and I'm going, oh my God. I look in the rearview mirror, and Phil Vecchioli is sitting in the back seat, and his eyes are giant sauce, and he's pale in the face, and I go, Phil, are you scared? He goes, a little. I say, I'm sorry, I turn off the tape. My kids, not being the best behaved kids, goes, Dad, what are you doing? Oh my, Phil, stop being a wimp. They start yelling. At this point, I call a family meeting. I go, family meeting. Now, this is kind of an absurd concept that my friend has. She has 2 very well-behaved daughters. If they're going somewhere on vacation, they sit down, they reason it out, they discuss things, they vote on where they're going. My family meetings is like Annie Hall with the Jewish family and the Wasp family. We're like the dysfunctional family yelling and screaming. My family meeting, I pull over the side of the road, I go, kids out of the car. I get them out of the car. I go, what is wrong with you kids? Blah, 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 blah. I start yelling at them. You can't yell at Phil, make him feel guilty for this. And my kids are like, you're the one who put the tape on. Now he's going to be scared if they don't hear the end of the tape. And they're making all these rational, like 3 little lawyers at the side of the road making arguments. The problem is, at this point, I look into the car and realize that Phil is sitting alone in the dark on the side of a highway, seeing me arguing with my family about a family meeting which he could think is the family meeting might be, where are we going to bury this kid? Phil doesn't know, so Phil's freaking out. So I go back in the car. We get back in the car, and I try to parent. I go, okay, everybody. You know there are erasers at the end of pencils for a reason. Everybody makes mistakes. Adults make mistakes. I made a mistake. I never should have put this tape on. It's a horrible tape. It's fictional, Phil. There are no pet cemeteries like this. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Kids, we're going to be respectful about this. I made a mistake. And kids, no reason to tell your mom. And Phil, your parents are wonderful people. No reason to, make them feel sad telling them this whole hard tale. We drive home. We pull into the driveway. It's late at night. The Vecchiolis, it's their only child, are waiting in the driveway. They're outside. We walk out of the car. Phil gets out of the car, runs to his parents, and goes, Mr. Carmody played this horrible book on tape. I look up, Mark Vecchioli says to me, he goes, what did you play on for my son, my 8-year-old son? I go, I played a Stephen King book. He goes, Stand By Me? I go, no, not Stand By Me. Shawshank Redemption? I go, no, no, no. And then Phil goes, he played this thing with zombies and pets in a graveyard. And Mr. Vecchioli goes, you played Pet Cemetery for my son? And I go, well, I wasn't really sure what it involved. He's like, did you think it was Marley and Me? What are you thinking? And the point of the story is, because I'll defend myself here, that was 10 years ago. This year, Phil Vecchioli was the starting center of Westchester Ruston's football team. 10-2, they were 9th ranked in the area. He had a great year. Now, some could credit the fact that he lifted weights for the last 10 years. Some could credit his team's hard work overall. But I think a little journey to the Jersey Shore had something to do with it.